aqui na escola. Alguns de vocês se juntaram à equipe da Concept, acredito que foi na terça-feira, onde a gente teve um grande evento com Q&A com o Ryan Krieger, o cofundador do Instagram. E realmente a gente teve uma oportunidade única de bater um papo com ele e também uma oportunidade única de bater um papo com o Renato, que estava fazendo a moderação do evento, que também tem uma startup e trabalha dentro dessa área de inovação e desenvolvimento e disrupção. E aí ontem tivemos um outro grande evento, Celebrar of Code, que era a oportunidade de todos os pais fazerem uma programação com suas crianças, de programarem usando coding dentro do nosso espaço Maker, do nosso Innovation Conference. E isso foi um momento muito especial também. E aí hoje a gente finaliza os eventos dos pais com essa grande apresentação da Karen Boyce. So thank you, Karen, for being here. A Karen Boyce, para vocês que ainda não tiveram a oportunidade de conhecê-la, ela é uma grande referência mundial em hábitos da mente, em Habits of Mind. Ela é uma Associate Director do Institute of Habits of Mind. E ela trabalha com muita proximidade com a Dana Kallick e com o Art Costa, que foram realmente os fundadores dessa instituição que hoje traz para a gente esse foco nos hábitos e no currículo socioemocional. A Dana e o Art são pessoas que já estão numa idade mais avançada. O Art Costa, 87 anos, a Dana, 80, continuam escrevendo e viajando pelo mundo, mas eles querem pessoas que vão conseguir seguir o legado, que vão conseguir dar continuidade a esse trabalho que eles fizeram e iniciaram há 25 anos. E com isso, a Karen faz parte da equipe que vai levar os hábitos da mente, vai manter essa chama viva quando eles não estiverem mais com a gente. Então, eles têm essa consciência, eles não sabem mais quantos anos eles têm para conseguirem levar esse trabalho adiante do Habits of Mind. O Habits of Mind, ele entra com muita facilidade dentro dos nossos espaços e combina bem com a forma que a gente trabalha, com os visible thinking routines e cultures of thinking que a gente tanto trabalha aqui na escola. E são esses 16 hábitos que a gente trabalha com continuidade com as nossas crianças para que eles sejam adultos com uma inteligência emocional bem equilibrada e com uma inteligência emocional bem forte, para que eles consigam, então, lidar com os problemas do dia a dia de uma forma que nós diríamos uma forma consciente e inteligente de lidar com esses problemas. A Karen é uma autora publicada de mais de 7 livros, vários artigos, e ela ganhou a Educadora do Ano da Nova Zelândia em 2017. É com muita, muita honra que a gente dá as boas-vindas, esse big welcome para ela aqui na Escola Concept, onde ela está passando a semana com a gente e está treinando vários educadores de Ribeirão, de São Paulo e de Salvador, para que nós sejamos um affiliate center do Institute of Habits of Mind, aqui na América do Sul, e que a gente consiga, então, levar esse legado para frente aqui dentro do nosso continente. Então, os nossos educadores das escolas Concepts vão estar fazendo treinamento ao longo, em vários países, em vários outros locais, para que eles consigam passar essa mensagem do que é você ser saudável emocionalmente. Então, com isso, we'll welcome Karen, and thank you so much, Karen, for being here with us. It is such an honor and great pleasure. We've had a wonderful week of learning. And we hope that you enjoy this moment as much as you have the moments with our students and the moments with our teachers. So thank you. Have a great workshop with your parents. Thanks. I'm so sorry. I forgot to talk about translation. So sorry. Se vocês precisarem de tradução, esqueci de avisar. A gente tem 2 pessoas atrás a Ana Carolina Erlache e a Ana Paula Torresan, que vão estar fazendo a tradução para quem precisar. Então, a gente tem umas cadeiras do outro lado, dos dois lados, dos lados opostos do nosso auditório. Se vocês precisarem de tradução, por favor, fiquem super à vontade. A Ana Carolina e a Ana Paula vão estar fazendo esse trabalho. Tá bom? Obrigada. Sorry about that.
So good morning, and yes, I am from New Zealand. Who's been to New Zealand? Yay, come back. Yeah. Who would like to come to New Zealand? Yes, we welcome you. In New Zealand, the way we say good morning is morena. Morena. So morena, everybody. I am so grateful. This is my first trip to South America. So thank you for inviting me, and thank you for coming today. First and foremost, of everything that Priscilla just said, first and foremost, I am a mum. I'm a wife and a mother of two, wife of one, mother of two. And, and I have an incredible family. So my children are now 16 and 19. And the 19-year-old has successfully gone right through school and is now employed in a job and is living downstairs in our home and paying rent. I call that profiting off your children. So, or success, parental success. So he is going to wait a few years and then go into the army and maybe the Air Force, because he's been an Air Force cadet for many years, but just wanted to get some life experience and some maturity behind him before he does that. So I have one big company called Spectrum Education, and swap those. Oh, where's that other microphone? It's just cutting out. So, Spectrum Education is the arching over a company, and under that there are three brands. One is called Study Smart. I work in 20 countries, this is my 20th, in the world, teaching students how to study and pass exams. Second thing I do is I work with teachers, like I've been doing here, to teach them how to teach more effectively, teach them how to make sure we're using a 21st century curriculum and helping students to develop the skills they need for while they're at school, but for when they leave school. And then I have a third a brand that I have called Speaking Matters, where I teach professional speakers how to speak and how to build a global business to be able to speak. So I really love this whole concept of preparing our children for the world. But in order to understand why that is important, what we need to do is go into the past and really see what is education about, what was education and the purpose of education, and then move into the future to see what is it now and what's changed. And so when most of us were at school, and when our parents were at school, our school system was based on a model that said, let's do mass education and teach people how to be employees. Let's make sure they are ready for employment and ready for jobs. And the way we knew that we're ready for jobs was several ways. One, you had to be on time. That's an important job skill. So school was all about being on time, doing as you were told, making sure you got the work done. Don't question too much, just get it done, and then you leave at the end of the day. So they were the 5 key essential things for mass education in the 20th century. And the way that we knew that somebody was ready for the world, or is we gave them a test. And we tested to see if they could memorise or remember information under high pressure. And so under that high pressure, if they could do that. But every education system in the world was set up to fail 50% of the students and pass 50%. And the reasoning behind that was partly to keep a class structure and partly to make sure we had a very solid workforce, because if they had failed education, it meant that they would go into the more hands-on, the more non-academic, I guess, professions, and we needed those in the 21st century. And so that this higher education was set for the 50% and above. If they wanted it, they had the choice. Previous to that, in the from the 1400s, higher education, university, college was only for the nobility and the rich. So it changed in that late 1800s to be about mass education. But now, in this 21st century, now we realise that it's not necessarily about having the students being able to be ready for employment. But we do know that what it is about is making sure they can think. Can they solve problems? Do they know what to do when they don't know what to do? Because we know, as parents and as educators, that the world is changing pretty fast. It's only in the last, 10 years we've had cell phones. And what would we do without them? It's only in the last few years that we've had much of the technology that we have now. And so we need to be able to look at what kind of world are our children growing up into. What we do know is that our children need to be what I call lifelong learners, or L to the power of 3. And for their whole entire life, they're going to need to be a learner. Unlike the concepts in the 20th century, when you got a job and you stayed in that job for the rest of your life, you didn't need to keep upskilling and learning. But for us as parents and adults now, we also are starting to get that sense that to keep current, to keep up with the fast change that's happening in the world, we also need to be able to be lifelong learners. So I get to speak with futurists around the world and ask them and talk to them about what is the future for our learners. And really, most of the futurists you talk to will quote similar sort of figures. And so they all start talking about 2030, which is only 11 years away. And in 2030, what they say is that 2 billion jobs will be gone from this planet. 2 billion jobs will not exist. So what I'd like you to do for a moment is, if you know the person next to you, just turn and talk to them. If you don't know the person next to you, please introduce yourself and then turn and talk to them. And if you're all by yourself or you see somebody by themselves, invite them into your group, please. So please turn to the people next to you and have a discussion about what sort of jobs do you think will be gone in the next 11 years. Tell the person next to you, go. And please begin to finish up. And let's pause here. Thank you. So please share with me, what kind of jobs do you think will be gone in the next 11 years? What kind of jobs? Just call them out. Drivers. The driverless cars. Did you know that Domino's Pizza already can deliver pizzas with a driverless car? And you can go on the internet and have a look. They have got together with Ford Motor Car, and they have driverless delivery pizzas. But not only will we have driverless cars, and your children might be the last generation of children to get their driver's license, because their children possibly won't need one. So not only that, but Michael McQueen, a futurist from Australia, predicts that you will have your driverless car drive you to work, and then your driverless car can drive itself home and park at home. So we will not need parking buildings. And more than that, you can even have your driverless car be an Uber while you're at work. So you could be going to work, and then your car is out there earning money for you. You're liking this idea, aren't you? Yes. While you're earning work somewhere else. And in Auckland, New Zealand, we have a 65-storey apartment block going up right in the city, and there is no parking in the building because it's all about this 21st century city, in the city living, that you won't need a car. So if you want to go away for the weekend, you will just hire the car for the weekend. So yes, there is a lot of change going to happen with these driverless cars. And of course, one of the concerns about driverless cars and driverless vehicles is, what about the insurance? Who's insured? Who's in charge? Who's responsible if that car does have an accident? So the whole insurance industry will also be changing. What other jobs and careers do you think might be gone in yes? Yes. Yes, anyone specialising in diagnosis, the doctors. How many of you, before you go to the doctor, have already Googled your symptoms? And there's a wonderful book I've been reading called, what's it called? I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's about expertise, the death of expertise. And the death of expertise talks about that we think we know everything now because we can Google it, and we go to the doctor, and not only do we tell the doctor what's wrong with us, we also tell the doctor what kind of drugs or medicine we need. But we've Googled that too. And so this idea that our children possibly won't even bother training to be doctors in the future because they won't need to. But right now, optometry is under serious threat. If you work in the, or know people who work in the optometrist realm, you can already go online and test your own eyes. So you don't need to go to a shop. And you can also buy your glasses online. So these ones that I'm wearing, and I have several pairs of different colours, came from Hong Kong and cost me $40. The same pair at home would have cost me $200-300. And so they're prescription, and so this world is changing very quickly. That site is amazing, by the way. You take your photo and then you can try on all the glasses and see what you're going to look like with them on. So it's wonderful. You can show your friends, and they can all give their opinions. It's just wonderful. But of course, lots of these professions. Now, one of the things that futurists didn't predict, and by the way, the professions like building, we now have 3D printing, and in America they are printing houses, a whole house within 24 hours, and it costs $4,000 to build a house with the 3D printers. So all of these jobs, the number one employing job in America is a truck driver, by the way. And so if we now have driverless cars, we will not need truck drivers. And in Europe, they already have driverless trucks. And not only do the trucks have no driver, they can communicate with one another and then find each other and convoy. So fascinating that these professions that we thought were just something that anyone could do, no one will need to do. But the one fact that futurists didn't predict was, of course, in places like China, labour is so cheap that why would you need to automate? But in one town recently, they just made 60,000 people redundant from a factory because it's actually more cost efficient to have a machine doing the labour than it is to have a human being. So this is scary, right? And because of course machines don't need to take vacations. Machines don't need to stay at home if their children are sick, or they don't need food breaks or bathroom, restroom breaks. So they don't need all of these things. So they can make house printers work 24 hours a day. So it's a very different world that our children are growing up into. And what that means for us and for our children is that what we do know is that 60% of the jobs in the future haven't been invented. And whilst your children are participating in an hour of code this week, the interesting thing is that futurists also tell us that coding is not the future, because computers will be able to code themselves. However, coding is very important for your children to understand what's happening in behind it all, so that they understand the process, so they understand the linear logic of how machinery and computers and technology work. So it is important for them, but they probably won't need to be coding personally themselves. So what we do know, and futurists talk a lot about this, that 40% of your children, or 40% of the 5-year-olds in our schools will have to be self-employed to have any form of income. Now that statistic always stuns me, because 40% is a significant portion of our school population right now. And remember, schools originally were set up to create employees. But if we want, and we know that 40% of our learners are going to be self-employed, they need very different skills. To be self-employed, you need to be able, well, nobody knows if you turn up to work. Nobody knows, right? Nobody's checking. Nobody knows if you've even done the work, because you're just doing it for yourself. You have to be self-managing, you have to be self-monitoring, you have to be self-modifying, you have to be able to change your behaviours. Not only do you need to know how to do the work, you need to know how to get the work. You have to be great at communication. You have to be great at marketing. You have to be great at doing your own finances. So there's a lot of things to be self-employed that you have to be able to do. So it means in this 21st century that we need a very different education system to prepare our children, which is why at Concept School, the leadership team have been very wise to look at what do we do to prepare our children for this ever-changing world. So here's one of the reasons we're going to need to change this perspective in our schools, because it's when we don't know what to do, when we're stuck, when we come across life challenges, that's when we need to be able to think. But video for you. So I'm going to ask you, do you see this with the young children around your life? Do you see it with others? So have a look. Telephone.
No. Sorry. Somebody! Hello? There are two people stuck on an escalator and we need help. Now, somebody, please do something. I don't believe it. You gotta be kidding me. Well, now let's do it.
So they just stand there. Do you see your children when they get stuck, when they don't know what to do, when the answer is immediately apparent? Just stop. Just do nothing. And you see, in life, particularly in a life that's changing very quickly, and particularly a life where the world is going to be very different, they have to be able to solve problems. They have to be able to move forward and take that step on the escalator when it stops. And this problem solving is important. So, Michael McQueen, a futurist, talks about that our children have been brought up to believe that life is easy and that life is something that happens to them. And let's face it, their life is so much easier than your life was, and the life of your parents and the life of their parents. Yet, in this 21st century, we need to make sure that we show them how to do hard, that it's really important they understand how to be able to be problem solvers. See, we need in this 21st century students to be good when they don't know what to do. Do they know what to do when they're lost? Do they know what to do when the car won't start? Do they know what to do when they can't communicate with the person they're trying to communicate to? Do they know what to do? And I love this one here that says, I think this one should be a premarital test. So, the one that says, what do they do when the internet is slow? Isn't it? Because don't you see sometimes a different side of a person when the internet just won't work fast enough? And because we want everything instantly nowadays. And we get very frustrated when it doesn't happen that way. So we need students, as Willem says, to be able to think instead of just remember and regurgitate information, because they will be spending a lot of time in unfamiliar territories with unfamiliar information. So, two people have thought a lot about this. Oh, and by the way, I saw some people taking photos, which is fine. And I can send you this PowerPoint if you would like it. So, I also have a dedicated parent page with lots of information on it, including posters and downloads and videos. So if you would like it, you might like to pop your name and email address here, and next week we will send you all the information. Now, I need to tell you that my assistant does not speak Portuguese and cannot spell in English, let alone Portuguese. So, and she says to me, Karen, before you hand this out, please can you ask the people to print clearly? So, if she can't tell whether it's an R or an I, you might not get the email. So, because of course we have to strive for accuracy when we are writing emails. So, if you would like to put your details on there, just pass it around. So these two fabulous people, Art Costa and Ben are the founders of the Hibts of Mind. And 25 years ago, they really started to think about what is it that makes people successful. And they looked at all walks of life. They looked at truck drivers, they looked at mechanics, they looked at doctors and lawyers, they looked at hairdressers and teachers, and they looked at artists and musicians and said, what do they do to be successful? And then their question was, if we can find some common elements of successful people, can we teach others to be successful? And originally they found 7, and then they found 9, and then they found 12, and now there are 16 different ways that people become successful and different things that we do when we're stuck and we don't know what to do. And you will see that on your chair you have a card with all 16. So just take a moment to have a look at that card and see which ones do you think you have used or could use when you're stuck, when you come up with challenges that are difficult and are hard. Take a moment. So you are welcome to take that card home, and you will have heard your children talk about the habits of mind and ask them to explain, if you're not sure, a little bit deeper about how some of them work. And it's a long process to be able to embed the habits of mind because there are 16. And there'll be some that are very familiar with already, and there are some that they won't know yet. And that is normal because it takes about 4 to 5 years to really embed these habits of mind into a school and into our lives. But let's have a look at some of them and see how they apply to you and your children. So let's look at persisting. So persisting is sticking to a task. Persisting is trying and trying and trying again. Persisting is if plan A doesn't work, you try plan B. If plan B doesn't work, you try plan C, D, or E. So to be able to do that, you need a box of strategies. So you need lots of different ways to try and solve the problems that you have. So if your child, when they learn to walk, they had to persist at that. Remember, they wobbled around and they fell over, and they wobbled around and they fell over. Was there anyone who ever said to their child, "You've fallen over too many times, stop trying"? We never said that to our children when they were learning to walk, did we? We just expected they would keep trying and trying and trying until they could. And this is the habit of successful people. They just keep trying and trying and trying until they can do what they need to do. Learning to ride a bike is the same. And there's a mantra that I talk to children about and to teachers, and it's this one, that everything is hard before it is easy. And it's really important for children to know that everything is hard before it is easy. And learning to ride a bike is hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Learning to drive is hard, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. Learning your English, learning your maths, or your writing an essay is hard, but the more you do it, the easier and easier and easier it gets. So helping our children understand this. And I have another video, and so this is of a young girl on her first attempt to go down this ski slope. So have a look and see how she uses self-talk to coach herself, and how she persists through the fear that she has to do something that's very hard.
Here goes something, I guess. Whoa, my skis slipping off. No, so fast. Okay. Great. Do you go faster on the end run? A little bit? Is it any steeper, you think? Not much. It's not a bit. It's big.
seems like nothing now. Isn't that true? You overcome those fears when you do something you've never done before. It's just like, what's I worried about? And so part of our role as a parent, of course, is that encouragement. And you have a parent at the top saying, you know, you can do it. It's those encouraging words, just being calm and holding that space for her to take that courage. And so for us as parents, it's a part of our job. And you know, because I have now a 16-year-old and a 19-year-old, and your children may not be at that age yet, I sometimes now start hearing them saying the words that I've been saying. I sometimes start hearing them saying the encouragement to each other. I sometimes start hearing them say, you know, I can do this, and that what I'm saying is, you know, all that effort we put in when they're young, it pays off. You start hearing it and you start seeing the success. And my daughter has never ever wanted to stand up in front of a crowd and do a presentation. And just today, she's been on, in her class, they've just done 2 weeks volunteer service. And today they had to do a presentation on their volunteer service and what they did over those 2 weeks. And it's in front of all the parents, and I won't be there, and my husband will go along. And she's always said, I'm never going to do a presentation, I'm never doing presentations. And this morning when I spoke to her, she said, Mum, look at my PowerPoint. And she showed me her PowerPoint presentation, and she says, I'm ready. I said, have you written what you're going to say? She said, no, I'm just going to look at the slides, and I'm just going to tell people what we did. And I'm like, wow. Somewhere along the line, she's transformed and she's grown up and she's become more responsible. And I blinked my eye and it happened. But I've spent a lot of time trying to coach her and help her to be okay standing in front of a room and being able to speak. So it does happen and it does work. Of course, when we persist, there's a possibility that we might fail. And I love this, that failure is just the first attempt in learning. And so we want to be able to say to our students, our children, do you know, it's okay not to get it right the first time. You didn't when you walked, you didn't when you rode a bike. You know, that first time you drove the car, it was like bunny hops, bunny hops. You probably don't call them bunny hops, that's what they call them in Australia. But the idea it's difficult when we do something the first time, and we should expect our children to fail. That's part of the learning process. As you have in Brazil, your beautiful butterflies, we also have this beautiful butterfly in New Zealand, and it's called a monarch butterfly. And these butterflies have a beautiful cocoon, a chrysalis that they grow in. And did you know that if you help the butterfly out of the cocoon, or the chrysalis, it will die? And it's because as it struggles to get out of this cocoon, out of this chrysalis, as it struggles, it strengthens its wings and allows it to fly. And so the same is true for your children. It's the struggle that makes them strong. It's the struggle that allows them to become great learners. So if that's frustrating or difficult, and I did with the work that I'm doing, it's really important that we allow them to be frustrated and do the difficult. I did a model lesson with the grade 4s and the grade 3s a couple of days ago, and halfway through in the grade 4, I stopped the students and we, what's going on? And they're like, it's hard! I said, well, I told you it was going to be hard. I told you this was going to be difficult. I wanted to find out, what do you do when it's hard? And so we looked at some strategies, and then they went back and they were able to solve their problems and their challenges. But they need to expect that learning is not always going to be easy. I love this model and this concept of what's called the learning pit, and this idea that we go along and then suddenly it gets difficult and hard, and we want to give up, and we want to say, this is too hard, and maybe I can't do this. But at the bottom is where the true learning happens, because that's when you can use the habits of mind. That's when you choose to persist in this instant and bring yourself up and out the other side. So a lovely graphic to help students understand the learning process is not a straight line. There will be ups and downs in this process. So, and I love this little part that says if they can jump right across pit, they're probably not doing any learning. It's just easy, then there's no learning really happening. So, a poster that I have on my fridge, because what often happens as parents is we're busy, and we have help that often will help our children, and instead of our children doing things for themselves. And my daughter being 24 months older than her brother, when she was born, he was such the proud big brother. He was so proud. He fed her. When he was older, he dressed her. He tied her shoelaces for her. Now, they're teenagers, it's like, get out of my room. But before, when they were small, they were in love with each other. I still think they are. Apparently it gets better. But she didn't have to do anything. She became very, very helpless. And so we talked about this as a family, that if someone's always doing it for you, all you learn is that they are better than you. And so allowing them to struggle. But in this very busy world, when we're trying to rush out the door in a hurry, and it's quicker to tie our children's shoelaces than get them to do it. And so we need to slow down and allow them the time to do the learning. All right, here's a school I was in recently where the children have been making pom-poms. And I love this little display because it actually says we have been persistent rather than we've been making pom-poms. It's not about the end product. It's about who are your children becoming because of the learning that they are doing. And so which skills and which dispositions, which habits of mind have they used to be able to be successful. Let's have a look at another one. Listening with understanding and empathy. Aunt Costa would say that this is the queen of the habits of mind. And he would say this is one of the most important, although they all are important. And so being able to have our children to be able to listen and be able to communicate well. And interestingly, neuroscientists have found something called mirror neurons. And mirror neurons are fascinating. They do exactly as they suggest. They're parts of your brain that mirror what you are exposed to or what you see. So, for instance, if you look at the photo there, you can see the parent and the child mirroring each other, copying what each other's doing. I don't know who was doing it first and who's mirroring who, but often that's true. Now I'll show you another photograph, and I'm going to ask you, what is the parent doing? Some of you just went. Right? The parent has the mouth open, and I love this picture because where are this child's eyes? Not on the spoon. The child's eyes are watching the parent. What shall I do? How shall I do this? And I think that's one of the most greatest joys and pleasures of being a parent, that we get to raise these children to be wonderful citizens. But it's also the most scary part of being a parent, because have you ever seen the behaviours you don't like in yourself reflected in your children? Yeah. And so it's very confronting as a parent about your own behaviours when you see your children doing things that you don't like about yourself. So they just copy what you do. I like things to be organised. So I do a lot of organising in my house, making sure everybody needs to be where they are, and the groceries have been ordered and all of that sort of thing. So I do all of that. And while I'm away, my daughter does. She's been doing that since she was 6. She's been modelling her mother taking control of running a household. And now she's 16. I'm like, honey, just chill. Just let it go. She's like, no, they have to do this and this and this and this and this. And I'm like, you're a child. It's like, when you're an adult, that's okay, but I'm seeing you modelling and mirroring that of what I do in the home. If you want your children to be great listeners, one of the most important things you can do is have a meal with them once a day. and sit down with them and have time to actually listen. And mealtime is one of those great times to do that, to be able to just stop and hear them. My daughter came down to my office recently, and I was very busy and I was doing a lot of work, and she's trying to talk to me, and it's obvious that I'm distracted and I'm trying to get things done, and she stamps her foot and said, "I'll talk to you at dinner time." Because she knew she'd have my undivided attention. We have a rule at the dinner table: there are no cell phones. Even if the phone rings at dinner, you're not allowed to answer it. So we've been doing that since the children were very small, before they had cell phones. We wanted to model that so that when they did get cell phones, they already knew that was the rule. We have questions that we ask around the dinner table. And I'll send you a list of the questions if you put your name on the sheet. And so the first question that we started asking when the children were very small was, what was your favourite part of the day? Because they started to be moaning a lot. This happened, this happened, this happened. Okay, all this negativity. What was your favourite part of the day? So then that moved to a second question that we ask at every dinner time as to what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for that you already have? Because I noticed how many children, and mine were the same, just wanted more and wanted more, but they have so much. And so we talk about gratitude every day. And the third question that I started asking around the dinner table was, what positive difference have you made in the world? Or did you see somebody make today? So I wanted my children to know that every single day they can make a positive difference. And maybe that's they picked up some litter off the street. Maybe it's just that they smiled at a person as they passed and the person smiled back. When my daughter is going across a pedestrian crossing, she always stops and waves and smiles. It's probably frustrating for the driver, so keep moving. But she says, well, I've stopped, I'm going to smile and wave. So what positive difference could you make in the day? So we ask these questions and then we listen to each other's responses. So we're modelling what good conversation looks like and what good listening looks like. Another habit of mine that's really important is thinking and communicating with clarity and precision. And this one sort of goes hand in hand with the listening. My son has been unwell this week, and it's possibly because he hasn't eaten well. He's been eating a lot of junk food, a lot of takeaway food at 19. And my husband said to me this morning, I don't care. And I said, I don't think that's what you mean. I said, I think you mean you care, but you're not responsible for his actions. So that's the communicating with clarity and precision. And he said, oh yes, you're right. So this idea that we want to be very clear with our communication. And this wonderful book by Tim Elmore talks about an interesting statistic about 14-year-olds. And so in 1950, the average 14-year-old had about 25,000 words in their working vocabulary. So I have the statistic from 1999. Turn to the person next to you and ask and predict. See if you can predict, what do you think the working vocabulary of an average 14-year-old in 1999 was? Turn to the person next to you and predict. See if you know. See if they can guess. See if they can. Just we're going to start with our apples down. Okay. So, in 1999, Tim Elmore's research shows that the average 14-year-old had 10,000 words in their vocabulary. That's less than half within 50 years. And I asked, what about now? It's possibly even less. Because we've gone through a period of time where education has possibly been dumbed down, where we don't talk to our children as much. I was at breakfast at the hotel on my first day here, and there was a mother with a young baby with the iPhone set up so that the baby could be watching the iPhone, and at no time during that breakfast did the mother ever talk to the baby. Now that doesn't mean she's not going to talk to the baby at another time, but before cell phones, we did a lot of interacting at meal times. We talked and talked and talked to keep them amused, to keep them quiet, to keep them whatever we needed to do. And there was a lot of talking. But now it's the little phone that's doing the work for us. And the baby programs have very babyish language. And I love the habits of mind language, and so do your children, because they love saying, manage your impulsivity. Even the kindergartners and the toddlers, they love that language. And we don't need to dumb that language down because they understand it. And when we use sophisticated language, they learn sophisticated language. So, languages come from the arts. It's the textures and the colours and the patterns and the music. And when we expose our children to the arts, a lot of our language can come from there. So a very important part of the curriculum is to keep exposing children to the art subjects so that they do get the language that helps them. And the reason this is important is because language and thinking is totally intertwined. You cannot have great thinking without great language, and you cannot have great language without great thinking. And so they're totally intertwined. Do you ever hear children say, you know, it's kind of that weird stuff? What is kind of? What is weird? What is stuff? So we want to help them be more specific and precise with their language. Do your children say this? My daughter came home the other day and said, Mum, I need a new pair of jeans. And I said, why? She said, because everybody has them. I said, everybody? Everybody in the whole wide world has them? She goes, no, just everybody at my school. I said, everyone at your school has them? You see, she goes, no, just Jemima. I went, oh, Jemima has the jeans that you want. But they make these broad brush strokes of statements, and of course it's not everywhere. So helping them to be very precise and specific with their language. Here is my daughter when she was in about grade 4, and their school is on a mountainside, and they are learning about building shelters, and different shelters with different cultures. And it finished with them building a shelter up in the forest and spending a night in that shelter. And I love this idea that 5 girls slept in that shelter, and I can tell you 5 girls couldn't fit in that shelter. But they designed it, they made it all themselves, and that's where that language comes from. Those experiences, that little bit of uncomfort of spending the night squished into a shelter that wasn't big enough, but they're sitting around the bonfire and having the marshmallows and doing whatever they do. That's where that language and that precision of the language can come from when they can describe their experiences. So of course it's important that we give children experiences, but that we talk about them. All right. Number 11 is creating, imagining, and innovating. This one is an important habit of mine because in the 21st century, this is what Sir Ken Robinson talked about the gold of the 21st century. That our children need to have this ability to create, imagine, and innovate to be different from everybody else. If you are going to be self-employed, if your children are going to be self-employed, you need to be able to create and imagine and innovate. You need to do something that's different from what everybody else is doing. So, but Sir Ken Robinson also says this. You have to be willing to make mistakes and be wrong to be creative. When we had the session in here the other day with the man from Instagram, and entrepreneurs were asking him what what skills do you need to be an entrepreneur? It was very clear that you have to be willing to make mistakes. You have to be willing to be wrong. You have to risk failure to be able to do that. Because he didn't know. He said he didn't know Instagram was going to be big. He didn't know it was going to be something that the whole world would grasp on. It was just an idea and they tried it. But equally, they tried many other ideas that hadn't worked. So this is a commonality of entrepreneurs. They try lots of ideas before the big one really sticks. Now, if you want your children to be creative, innovative, and be able to imagine, what all of these psychologists say is we must limit the television time that they have, screen time that they're having, because the screen time limits that possibility. You and I didn't have a lot of screen time when we were young. We read books and we had to make up the pictures inside our head. We had to imagine what was going on. Now they don't have to do that. It's already provided for them. So this idea that we want our children to be able to be creative, we need to limit technology. In fact, I have a parenting spot on a local radio station. One of the things I often talk about is that we need our children to be bored. If you want creativity, take away the technology for a while. Every school holidays, I have a mandate 3 days no technology. And I'll send you the information so you can help your children step through this because they think they're going to die. You take away the technology for 3 days. We have a 3-day technology-free time, and it's amazing. My children start talking to one another. They get the board games out and they start playing. When they were little, they'd screw up pieces of paper and have races to blow them down the hallway. And they do things that were strange and weird and fun. They start getting the musical instruments back out and start playing them for fun, not just because it's music practice time. And they start enjoying the things that they have. So it's about limiting their access to what they have. And actually, in my house, when my child says, I'm bored, that gives me license to go into their bedroom and take anything I want and give it to charity. Because they have so much. So if I hear them say, I'm bored, I'm like, good. So I go in there and I find a toy or a game or something that they maybe haven't used for a while, or maybe something that they have been using and have forgotten about, and I say, right, I'm going to give this to charity. And so they don't say I'm bored anymore. They know to go into their room and look and see what is there that I could be doing. Or of course, there's the other option that every time a friend of mine does this, every time a child says they're bored, they simply give them a list of jobs to do around the house, chores. The last one I wanted to speak about today was this remaining open to continual learning, that we need our students to be open to this lifelong learning that they're going to be doing. And so to be able to do that, we have to have humility. We have to be able to admit we don't know. And in a world where it's all about what people do know, in an intellectual capacity, we have to be able to have that vulnerability to say, hey, I don't know. I need to find out. And be able to know how to find out. And of course, your children are the first big generation that have come through who have everything at their fingertips. Teachers often say, when I ask that question at the start of a presentation about what jobs might be gone, teachers will often say teaching. And of course, if teaching is just learning information so you can pass a test, then teachers can be replaced. Because if we're just regurgitating information that they can find on the internet, a teacher isn't needed. However, if a teacher is navigating children through making choices and being able to help them with their thinking and help them develop these habits of mind, then we do need teachers. And so it's maybe about changing the kind of thought process we have about the professions that we have. And so helping our learners have these ability to be lifelong learners. So I wrote a book many years ago called 27 Study Tips for Success, and I'll give you the link, or that will be on my website as well when I send you the link. But you can download that for free on an app called iStudy Alarm. It's an alarm, it's a study app that helps children study, and we teach them to study for 20 minutes and take a 5-minute break. 20 minutes, take a 5-minute break. So that they do short, sharp bursts rather than long study times. And so on that app, you will find this book, 27 Study Tips. So you can download it. But the most important study tip I teach when I teach you how to study is study tip number 3. And study tip number 3 is to learn the information they don't know. Learn the information they don't know. What most students do is they go home and they study what they already know because it makes them feel good. Oh, I'm so clever. I'm so amazing. I know this. Now, we do this too. How many of you are list writers? Who's a list writer? Who writes to-do lists? Thank you. So, have you ever, to my to-do list people, have you ever gone to cross something off your list because you've done it, to discover it's not on the list? So what do? You write it on the list just so you can cross it off. There's no logical reason for this, is there? But there is a physiological reason. You see, when you cross something off your list, it sends chemicals, endorphins, through your brain to make you feel good, makes you feel better. So that's why we do it. And this is why children like going over what they already know, because it makes them feel good. And this is why they want to show you what they've done at school, because it makes them feel good. Although I discovered yesterday that that you have the same worldwide curriculum that I have discovered in 20 different countries that I work in. And that is that this is true, when you ask your children, what did you do at school today? What do they say? Nothing. 20 countries I've been in, that's what children do in school. Nothing. It's not that they did nothing, but it's a common response. So, but they like telling you what they've done when they know they can do it, because it makes them feel good. But learning is not about feeling good. Learning is about doing what you don't know. And that is hard. It is difficult. It is painful some days. And so we want our students to know that the voice changes inside the head when we're doing something hard. So the voice changes to, this is hard. What if I don't understand this? What if I fail? What if? What if? That they realise I'm not as good as they think I am. It's called the imposter syndrome. And so helping our children understand that the voice of learning is actually not a comfortable voice. We often talk about learning should be fun. It's not always fun. Life's not always fun. So helping them understand that learning what they don't know. For instance, my daughter brought home some spelling words. She brought home 10 spelling words when she was young. And she said to me, the teacher says I have to write them out 10 times a night. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'll be tested on Friday. Well, I said to her, how many of them do you know? She shrugs her shoulders and says, I don't know. And I said, let me test you. So I test her on her 10 words. She knows 9 of them. I don't know how or why she knows 9. She can just spell 9 of those words. So how many does she need to learn? 1. She only needs to learn 1. I said, you only need to do 1, but she said. But the teacher said I had to write them all out 10 times a night. One of the words that she could already spell was the word family. And if she wrote that 10 times on Monday, 10 times on Tuesday, 10 times on Wednesday, and 10 times on Thursday, would she get better at spelling the word family? No, because she could already spell it. You don't get better at it if you can already spell a word. So it would have just been a waste of time for her to be writing those words out. The only ones she needs to focus on is the ones she didn't know. And so for your children, we want to celebrate their success in the ones they know. We want to help them focus on the ones that they don't know. And that feels uncomfortable, that feels difficult. And for children want to please their parents. Children want your love. And they sometimes think that the way they get your love is by doing the right thing and being able to be good at school. And I was really good at school. I was the child who did everything that I was supposed to do. I passed everything very well, and everything I did, I was successful at. And I left home to go off to university, to college, to learn to train to be a teacher, because I've been blessed to know my whole entire life that I was on this planet to teach. And I was a long way from home. And for the first time in my life, I experienced failure. I failed Education 101 at university. And I had never failed anything in my life before. I didn't know what to do. I was so embarrassed, I never told my parents. And I was in fear of them not finding out. And I didn't know what to do. I could have started drinking to forget. I could have started taking drugs. I could have taken my life, which unfortunately we see happen in the world. I could have gone to parties and fast cars and could have drowned myself and just pretended it wasn't happening. But I guess I was fortunate that it was only a half-year course. And I took it one semester to go. And the mark that would be on my final piece of paper that my parents would see would be the whole year's mark. So I knew that I needed to get a great mark for the second half of the course. But I didn't know why I failed, because I'd never failed before. I thought I'd done my absolute best. And I didn't have any strategies for dealing with failure. So I did something that I'd never done before. I cheated to ensure I got an A on the next essay. And cheating looked like this for me. I found someone who'd written the same essay the year before. And I asked her if I could borrow it to see what the examiner was looking for, what I might do in my essay. But I copied it, word for word, and submitted it. Now, I'm not proud of this, but I was so in fear of my parents finding out that I failed, that I cheated. And then I lived in fear that the university would find out, that they would realise that it was the same essay they'd read the year before and call me in. And then that didn't happen. And then 4 years later, when I graduated and I walked across that stage, I was still in fear that they'd stop me halfway along that stage and say, "You cheated, you don't get your degree." But they didn't. And so I lived with this shame for many, many years. And I wrote about it and I talked about it in workshops and presentations. And it wasn't until I was about 36 years old that I'd been telling, actually I must have been older, maybe 42. About 42 years old, I was talking to my children about this and telling them that I didn't mind if they failed because I knew it was part of the learning process. And I told them that I cheated when I was at university and was not proud of that. And that I was scared that my parents wouldn't love me if they found out. And still at 42, I was still worried that if my parents found out, they might not love me anymore. And my daughter said to me, "Why don't you tell them?" I told them. I still had that kind of relationship with my parents. It's like, well, they might not love me anymore. Well, my daughter encouraged me. And so when my parents came for dinner one night, she said, go on, tell them. So with my heart racing, I sat there and I said, I've got something to tell you, Mum and Dad. I cheated at university. And they looked at me and went, and? They couldn't have cared less. And I carried this with me for so long. And I tell you this story because your children want to please you. They don't want you to feel, they don't want to let you down. And we need to have conversations with your children to say, hey, it's okay. I told my son that I will love him no matter what. I said, I will love you no matter what you do. I will love you if you're in prison. He's tested me slightly. But unconditional love, that's what it is, isn't it? And I would love him if he was in prison. He's not in prison. He's not going to prison. But I will love him no matter what. So he doesn't fear that what he does will reflect on my support for him. So I would far prefer that my children brought home a C- than cheat for the A+. I would far prefer that they brought that C- home and we go, yay, where can we do the learning now? And we can celebrate that there's learning to do. I would far prefer that they felt comfortable with saying, hey, I didn't get an A this time, I got the C-, and know that that's okay, and that I'm okay with that, because it's part of that learning process. Because I'm not perfect all the time, I make mistakes, I fail, and I'm definitely not a perfect parent. I do yell at my children, not all the time, but in those frustrating moments, I get cross and angry, and then I apologise and say, I really shouldn't have done that. And so, trying to be as human as we can, because success and failure, it's a fine line for our learners, and it's a fine line for us as parents, and being that model for them, being that model to take these 16 habits of mind and use them in the home, to support the school, to be able to help build our children to be these contributing citizens of this 21st century. So, as you continue this journey with the school around the habits of mind, I ask one other thing of you, and that is, as a parent, to continue to find the joy with your children. You've heard this over and over again, that the children grow up so fast, and it is so true. I wrote it on my Facebook page on the day of my son's 19th birthday, is I can't believe he is 19, and I'm sure I'm not old enough to have a 19-year-old. But I said, I can't, it's gone in a blink of an eye. Art Costa says that the reason you have children, the best thing about children is being a grandparent. He says if he knew that grandchildren were so great, he would have skipped the children. But I flaw in his logic there. But you see, I think what people, when they say to us, is we need to slow down as parents. We need to stop and see the joy. Stop and make that connection with our children, because one day they will be grown. One day they'll be independent, which is what we want them to be. I watched a Dr. Phil episode once. Is that a bad admission? You know Dr. Phil? Oh, good. It's a horrible American program. One of those chat talk shows where people come in with their problems and he helps them. I've only seen one. And it was this one, and he said, when your children don't need you anymore, that means you've done a good job. And look, your children always need you as a parent, but I think what he means is when we've taught them to be independent, and my son is very independent. He does his own washing, he does his own, he does his ironing, he does everything. In fact, on my website you will find a contract, and I understand that Brazilian parents want children to stay at home as long as they can. Is that true? Yeah. So in New Zealand, we're like, hurry up and go. It's like, I've got 2 more years. It's like, go. Then I'm free. But I have a contract that he has signed to be an adult living at home at 19, with the chores and the jobs and the responsibilities and the consequences of not. To teach him about responsibility, teach him about independence, so that nobody's doing that for them. But I'm shocked at how many teenagers don't know how to use a washing machine, and how many of them don't know how to turn on the dishwasher, and how many of them don't know how to do basic things. And this is probably why they don't leave home, because you're doing it for them, or someone else is doing it for them. If they leave home, they won't have anyone else to do it. And so it's about helping them to be that independent. I think they're finding that story. I'm a parent who's learned, because my daughter said to me once, Mum, you don't laugh enough. And I felt shame again in a moment in parenting, and it was like, yes, I seem to be always busy. And so I started to take time to laugh with my children, to have fun, to really connect with them, and to really get to know them at a deeper level. And what a joy that's been. That when I ring from the other side of the world now and have in-depth conversations with them, how much they trust me with the information of what they've been doing in their lives, and how proud I am for that. But I am still the parent who hides in the pantry when my children come home and then jump out and go boom! Or they come into my office and I hide under my desk and they say, Mum, we can see you. But just having a little bit of fun and excitement with your children and experiencing that joy. So as we finish up, it's about helping your children to be those lifelong learners. It's helping them to see and navigate that journey into a world that is changing so fast that, when we've got people in the world like Elon Musk who wants to populate Mars. And to populate Mars, we as human beings need to be half human, half machine. And he's working towards that kind of reality for us. And if we're going to be half human, half machine, the conversations that futurists are having is, what does it mean to be human? And it's the connection. It's the fun, it's the laughter, it's the joy, it's the empathy, it's the relationship that you build that a machine can't build in the same way. It's the deep knowing and understanding. And for our children, helping them to be the best they can be through these habits of mind so that they can be contributing citizens of the 21st century. And they can be healthy, happy, and they can prosper in a world that is changing very, very fast. So I want to thank you for taking time out to help empower your children. I'd like to thank you for the work that you do with your children to support the teachers of the school. And I'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, because I know there's many other places you could be right now, to be able to learn and develop yourself as a parent, because of course it's always an ongoing journey to be able to learn and get better at what we do. So thank you very much.
We really wanted to thank all of you for coming and really taking time out of your busy lives to focus on your learning and the learning of your children. A gente tem esse grande prazer de receber vocês aqui no nosso último Parent Educational Learning Community de 2018. Então, a gente, todos os meses, nos comprometemos em trazer alguma coisa para vocês, para que vocês também conseguissem se educar no sentido do que é essa educação do século XXI, o que vem a ser a Concept. Então, a gente agradece a participação de vocês. Ano que vem, a gente espera a participação de vocês com a gente também. A gente vai estar fazendo estudos de artigos no próximo ano, também não só Speaker Series. Fizemos Speaker Series esse ano, a partir de maio, e ano que vem a gente quer mudar um pouco, incluindo artigos para discussão também. E esses artigos vão ser discutidos baseados no protocolo. A gente conta com vocês nessa participação, nessa próxima jornada. A gente super agradece a presença de todos. E, por favor, help yourself to coffee, tea, little cakes, pão de queijo, some fruit salad, and we'll be here to talk to you for a few minutes if you would like to talk to us. Enjoy a great day. Enjoy your practicing your habits of mind, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.